This like never happens. I don't think I ever recorded like two videos in a row, except if it was for like an online course or something like that. But to do like two blog videos and 2 days in a row, don't think that ever happened. And why the hell am I doing it on the weekend anyway? If what I'm talking about is, during this video today is, if you want to work on weekends or not. Well, I don't know because I feel like doing it. And that's kind of like, when people ask me like, hey, should I work on the weekend? Should I take some rest? What should I do? You never know because there's going to be people that, there's going to be one group of people that say, hey, get your rest over the weekend. And there's going to be the other group of people that say, hey, you should hustle over the weekend. And my opinion on it is, that none of these approaches is the ultimate approach. I just think, sometimes you should rest and then other times you should, just hustle and work hard and so on and so on. It also depends, if you're running your online business full time or if you're running a business on the side. Because for example, if you have a full-time job and it's very demanding and you really want to, build an online business on the side, but, every day, you'd either have to work after hours, so at like 5, 6 p.m. to work on your business or, to work very early in the morning. And you just, don't like waking up early and then you're tired after work. And it's really hard for you to get work for your business done during the week. Then, maybe blocking off a morning or, an afternoon on the weekend might be actually a really good idea and, really great way to actually grow your online business. Because maybe if you block out 4 or 5 hours, then you can get a lot of really high quality work done and still have plenty of time for your family, for your friends, for sports, to go on a trip, to recover, and so on and so on. So in that case, I think if you're running a side business, then, if it works for you, weekends can be a really great way to get some work done. But even in that case, I probably wouldn't work myself to death every single weekend because then you'll burn yourself out really, really fast. Because if you're working long hours during the job and, working yourself to death on the weekends, it's going to be very easy for you to burn out. And, it's going to be hard for you to get the work done and you're going to be overwhelmed, burned out, stressed out, all those things that I was actually talking about in the last video. Now, this might actually work for some people. I know there's some people like Gary Vee or maybe Steve Jobs that, praised, just hustling all the time and being on all the time. And I think if that works for you, if that's what you are, if you're more of an endurance person that can just work all the time, you should absolutely do it. But then there's also this other type of people, who might, there's kind of people like me. Because, for example, for me, I can't work all the time. I can do it for maybe a week, but then I'm super burned out and I can't get any quality work done if I constantly work. On the other hand, if I'm super rested, then I can write a really great blog post or really great email of like 2,000 words in like an hour if I'm really well rested. So for me, it's not so much being a marathon runner and, like just working all the time. It's working and putting out really high quality work and then recovering, after that. Because sometimes, I might just write a really awesome blog post and then, just relax for the rest of the day or something like that. And I think, you should figure out what kind of a person you are, what works better for you. Usually I notice that if people think really fast, if they're really smart, maybe you have even ADHD or something like that, then, usually you'll be able to get a shitload of work done in like an hour or a day, a lot more work than other people would usually do, but then you need a lot of time to recover. So that's how I function personally. Now, let's talk about weekends. So let's say you do run an online business full time. Should you then, be taking weekends off? Should you actually, be working on the weekends? What's the answer there? So for me, there was a big insight when I grabbed dinner with Ramit Sethi in New York last October. We're having a conversation. I was having a conversation with him and his girlfriend. And I think I actually was talking to his girlfriend, and we talked about, just taking time off. And, his girlfriend said, and now his fiance actually, I probably don't know how to pronounce that, but anyway, fiance, I don't know, probably something like that. So she said that, Ramit is actually really great with taking time off from work. Like he's actually really amazing at that, and he's not checking his emails on the weekend and stuff like that. So I was like, that's really interesting. If somebody like Ramit can take the time off, in the evening and, over the weekend and disconnect from work, and I know I function in a similar way than Ramit, then I could do the same thing. If he, of course, he has a team of people, and there's going to be, if there's fires in his company, other people are going to take care of it. But still, if he can do that, then there's no reason why I couldn't do it as well. So my mentality on this topic, should you work on the weekend or should you not work on the weekend? It's kind of like, with most weekends, I don't try to work too hard. Because I did try this thing where you work all the time and then you work on the weekend. When I worked with Ramit Sethi on his accelerator program, I used to spend a lot of time just during the week working on that. And then I would, try to work on the weekends on my side business as well. And it was really frustrating. And most of the time I just felt guilty because I felt so burned out, from the whole week. And then I would try to work the whole weekend, but I wouldn't actually get the work done. I would just feel guilty for not doing anything. It would just be this downward spiral when I felt like shit all the time instead of, being excited, to work on my business. So as I did that, for months and months and months, I realized that it's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable for me to try to keep working throughout the week and to work weekends. And, then I said to myself, well, I'm just not going to do this anymore unless I really, really have to. And we'll get to that part in a second. So on most weekends, here's what I do. One, I don't say to myself that I have to work because, really, if there's going to be very few situations, maybe there's going to be a situation like a product launch where you really have to work over the weekend. But in most things, like if you have a guest post to finish, or if you want to write a blog post, or if you want to, create an online course or something like that, there's very little, there's very few people that will have to get something done on the weekend. It's like you can say to yourself, okay, I want to get this done by this deadline. But then, usually there's not going to be anyone, there's not going to be a manager or someone telling like, hey, you have to get this done by Saturday evening. Because most people, won't be able to respond to your emails if you send them to them anyway, because they're probably relaxing, which is what you should be doing as well. So over the weekend, usually just take a lot of time off. I think one good distinction to make is that, some people say like, hey, well, you don't have to work on the weekend. And then what they do is they just fuck around all the weekend. And, again, that's recovering to some extent. But I think, it's fine to say like, I'm just not going to work over the whole weekend. But then I think it's also a good idea to have some intentional recovery in your weekend. So that might mean physical recovery, or mental recovery, or spiritual recovery, or emotional recovery, or things like that. But those are just weird words. And, if you've read some personal development books, you might be familiar with them. But I'll tell you what I practically do. So over the weekend, I try to go to the gym, especially nowadays that I don't work out so much during the day because I'm traveling. So I'll try to hit the gym. It's kind of like to take my mind off work. So that's mental recovery for me. I would try to hang out with my family or friends, play some card games, board games, video games or whatever. Doesn't really matter. Just hanging out with friends, having some fun, going to the cinema, things like that. That's kind of like the emotional recovery because you get to hang out with other people and you're not so like emotionally negative after that. Spiritual recovery, I don't think I do that much of it. And I think the time when I actually do it and what that means to me is just kind of like, I don't even know how to say this in not a weird word, but it's like when I go, for example, to a spa over the weekend, there's this thing in Slovenia where you can go to this spa. It's like a sauna place. And, what you would do is you would be there for 3 to 4 hours and you would go to a sauna and then you would, rest and like read a book on a lounge chair for like, half an hour. And then you would go to another sauna, you would go and swim in the pool, and then you would rest for another 20 minutes or something like that. Doing something like that, I think, really helps me recover. I think it's like a good mental recovery, but it's also like, when you go to a sauna and you manage to really, really relax, or when you get a massage or something like that, when you really relax, it's kind of like you become more calm, more peaceful, more mindful of what's going on. And for me, that's kind of like what spiritual recovery means like. For some other people, it might be volunteer work or going to the church or something like that. But for me, it's just like, really relaxing and, being mindful, or even meditation for some people. And that's kind of like I get the same effect of meditation when I go to a spa and I manage to really relax and, just be in the present moment. So what did we cover? Well, we kind of forgot about physical recovery, which also, if I work out really hard throughout the week, then, going to a spa for a few hours, to a sauna, to some pools, going for a massage or something like that, then that's usually a good idea. And I try to do that like once a week or once every 2 weeks because it helps me with my workouts and also, it helps me to kind of like get away from work. So the thing here that's most important to me is to actually make sure that this, recovery time is scheduled, that, I would have over the weekend. I would agree with my friends that on Saturday evening, we would go somewhere. Like this evening, we're going and we're watching a soccer game, or a football game, whatever you want to call it. So we're doing that. Then this morning, again, my girlfriend and I went to the gym. And then after that, we just went out for some lunch or something like that. And then tomorrow, we are actually going golfing for a few hours. And that's going to be a great way to just, mentally recover and something like that. So instead of having this unstructured weekend when you do random shit, but again, you just end up watching Netflix all the time, think about if you can add 1 or 2 things or 3 things, that you can schedule in there, like, hey, let's have a date night. Let's go to the gym. Let's go to a spa. Let's go for a massage. Let's go on this trip. If you can intentionally do some things that really help you recover, that's usually going to work better than just having unstructured time. Because sometimes, I would just spend the whole weekend on my computer and browsing Facebook and being on Netflix. And that wouldn't really help me recover because I wasn't intentionally thinking about things that I could be doing that would actually help me recover. So that's how I try to approach my weekends. And, there is another rule that I actually use. So I make sure there is some kind of an intentional recovery, hanging out with people, some kind of a sports recovery, some kind of a spa, something like that. Maybe going into the nature because I tend to spend a lot of time on inside. And, just some things where I can really relax and get my mind off work. So I give myself all of this, intentional recovery. And then when it comes to work, let's say that I don't have any product launches coming up or something like that. Let's say, that I'm just like, this is a regular week when I don't have any super tight deadlines that I have to meet or something like that. In this case, like this weekend, I have a rule that's kind of like, if I really want to work or something, I will. So if I get this amazing idea for a blog post, I'll probably write it in an hour or 2 hours, probably in the morning, and then I'll move on to doing all of the other recovery stuff. But I will never force myself to work. I will never feel guilty about not working because I know I need to take this time off in order for myself to recover, in order for, for me to function at the best level. And then, produce quality work throughout the week because I am running my business full time. And if I am burned out all the time, then, kind of like shit happens. So that's the theory. And that's, I think on most of the times, 80% throughout the year, I managed to do something like that where I managed not to work too much. I only work on the things that I want to work on and so on and so on. Then there's maybe like 10% of the time when shit happens and, I burn myself out accidentally, which is what happened over the last few weeks. And you can learn more about that, and how I dealt with it in the last video. And then the last 10% is just when you really need to work. And that's like when you're in the middle of a product launch or something like that. It's like you have to do the work. You have to finish the sales page. You have to work with your clients or something like that. When you do an intensive beta course or something like that. In that case, you might actually need to, work and, kind of like suck it up for a couple of days and maybe work 1 or 2 weekends. And I think that, that can happen, especially if you have a, side business or if you have an online business and you're doing your first launch. There's a shitload of things to do. Sometimes you might actually have to work on a weekend or 2 weekends and, do things even though you might not feel super excited about doing them. And I think that's fine as long as you follow the 2 different rules. First rule, don't do too much of it. Because if you do it 3-4 times in a row, you'll probably burn out, if you're not the kind of person that's really focused on endurance. But again, I can't relate to that because that's just not the type of person that I am. And then what's the other thing that I want to say? So the first rule is don't do it too much. And the second rule is if you do it, if I have a product launch and I really have to work over the weekend and finish my sales page so I can release it on Monday or something like that, then once it's done, I'll get some rest. So maybe I won't take rest over the weekend, but I'll take some rest on Tuesday, Wednesday, take a day off or something like that to kind of like recharge, get back to my best and then continue with my launch or something like that. So those are kind of like my thoughts around working on the weekends. Maybe rambly, maybe fun, maybe useful. I don't know. You guys let me know. Let me know how you like this video because we are kind of wrapping it up. That's the thing I want to talk about today. There's going to be more stuff in the future videos, but kind of like my final opinion, it's like, if you're the type of person that can work all the time, then just do it. If you're the type of person like me who thinks really fast and gets a lot more work done if they're really recovered, then take time for recovery, And if you're running a side business, don't work yourself to death over the weekend, but put in 4 hours of quality work. that's better than working for 20 hours and, you know, being unfocused and having brain fog and having writer's block and all those things, you know, which usually happen because you're burned out. And then when you have a product launch, you know, suck it up, do the work, and then when, you know, once we're done with the important deadline, then take a day or two off if you can to really recover, and so on and so on. Yeah, that's kind of it. So if you like this video and if you'd like me to keep making videos, definitely let me know. You can let me know in the comments of the YouTube section or also in the comments on Facebook when I share this post. I would love to hear from you. You know, if you learned something useful, if this was fun for you, then yeah, absolutely let me know. If you want to see more of these videos, then, you know, just stalk me on Facebook or subscribe to my YouTube channel. And then, you know, if you want to actually get some work done and, you know, talk about business stuff, creating really awesome content, ultimate guides, growing your list, business strategy, you know, making just a bunch of money with your online business, then, you know, come visit my website. Link's going to be below this video. That's pretty much it. Not sure when I'm doing the next video. Tomorrow? Maybe. Unlikely. That's the thing. I did this video today because I felt like it, not because I felt like I should do it. You know, it's just living what I preach. Cool. Well, that's it for today, guys. And I'll see you the next day, whenever that happens. Tomorrow, 1 week from now, 2 months from now. We'll see. Take care, guys.